Welcome to Insurance Claim Radio, where leading hail loss consumer advocate Phil Coutu and his team of experts teach you how to avoid the pitfalls of hail damage claims and how to use his team of experts to get what you truly deserve under your insurance policy. Now, here's your host of Insurance Claim Radio, Phil Coutu.
Hi, we're live with Insurance Claims Radio. It's a show designed to help the consumer, adjusters, public adjusters, and contractors navigate the claims process. We're specifically talking about hail because it's Colorado right now. I'm Phil Coutu. I'm your host. I'm also the owner of Power Appraisers, Power Adjusters, and rooftoproofing.com. You can find great information on our website. So we're going to start off talking about claims and how we're talking about the way coverage is being taken away in general by the insurance industry, but we're going to also talk about how arguments are starting to happen on if there's direct physical damage to certain construction items. So one of the big ones that I've got Mike Neely, Pro Roof on there, Ed Levy, and Stevie, ex-Tamco rep, that we were discussing on the break here, and we're back live about, what do you do? Like, a lot of insurance companies are telling you have to use step flashing. So, Mike, you're a contractor. Let me tell you, what are you doing with step flashing?
It's not an easy thing. Get an adjuster up there on the roof, and he looks at it and says, hey, this is a cosmetic exclusion, or we're not going to pay for it. Period. Well, why not? I mean, it's been in there for 30 years, and it's rusting out, and we need to have it replaced. Well, I'm not going to pay for it. So then we have to overcome and figure out why he's not going to pay for it. And it may be just this is our rule, this is our regulation. It's not true. All right. And we get into situations where we get in battles with these insurance adjusters sometimes and we negotiate on that roof. I mean, it's a negotiating territory, right? So I personally, what I do is when I set this up for the insurance adjuster, I set that ladder up. I do a scope or a scope is the paperwork in advance for him. So I'm going to do that work in advance. And sometimes I might circle some circles over there where, on a square on a roof, where I might show him, hey, this has got a really bad dings on the skylight. But it's all negotiating, territory when we get on this roof that we need to get it bought. And usually, 98% of the time we get it bought.
Now, Mike, should not be bought 100% of the time?
Well, sometimes not. I can tell you that, I've seen some roofing contractors that get up there with 4 or 5 guys and try to intimidate the insurance adjuster, right? So that may not be cool.
And for our listeners, why don't you tell them what you mean by bought the roof or will buy the roof?
Well, yeah, so I'm talking about like the step flashing on the wall. Should it not always be replaced?
Absolutely, right? I mean, no matter what. There may be an occasion where that step flashing may be inside of a chimney, where you'd have to take the chimney down or whatever to do it. There may be an occasion like that, but, that chimney, it's just one of those deals where, we wouldn't have to do that. But when we do step flashing on a house, it needs to be replaced 100% of the time. Like with the vents, they'll say, well, we're going to replace the air hawk vents. So it's only 50% of the time if they're
damaged. Let's take a little further. Why should we replace the step flashing? Why not reuse it?
Well, they want you to use it, right? That's
right.
What our battles are.
But
right?
Why should we not reuse it?
Well, it's old, it's rusted. We bend it out when we pull it out, right? And we don't want to damage the siding on it. Sometimes we got to pull the siding apart. But I replace step flashing on every single roof that I do. Everything I do on that roof is going to be brand new.
Okay, so let's talk about why we should really replace it. What's the first rule of insurance? Should you not put them back to pre-storm condition?
Yeah, they're going to replace same kind, but definitely we want to put them in a condition.
So an insurance company always tells me, they say, well, Phil, you can reuse it, pop the nails out, it still goes between the shingles. What's wrong with that? I'm being the devil's advocate.
You're number one, you're damaging the step flashing that's there.
Okay,
right? That's
one great aspect.
Right, it's old and rusted out. It's bad, not in a good situation.
So what if it's not rusted?
Well, you're still when you pull it out, you're going to damage it. It's going to be damaged.
Okay, so that's a great argument. What's another argument, guys?
I mean, from my mind, it's made of aluminum, right? I'm thinking about a soda can. You take a soda can, you crush it, or you move it, manipulate it, and you try to straighten it out again. It's never going to be back to manufacturer specs or the perfect shape it's going to hold, And so that's my initial argument, saying, hey, listen, it's metal. we're
live here with Stevie, ex-Tamco rep, which is Tamco Manufacturing Shingles. the great Mike Neely, Pro Roof, and Ed Levy. And we're going to return in a second and come back. We're going to give these guys another minute to think about some of the other reasons why step flashing should be replaced. I'm your host, Phil Coutu. I can be reached at rooftoproofing.com. You're listening live on Insurance Claims Radio, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Insurance Claim Radio. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration, 303-997-4247, 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftop-restoration.com.
Welcome back to Insurance Claim Radio. Now, here's Phil Coutu and his team.
Hello, we are right back with Insurance Claims Radio. Mike, you got all the time in the world to talk. Just let me do the intro. I'm your host, Phil Coutu, rooftoproofing.com. I got a great panel today, and attorney Ed Levy, Mike Pro Roof, and Stevie Sullivan, ex-Tamco shingle rep. And we're talking about all the reasons. So far we have damage when you remove step flashing. We're talking about why step flashing should be replaced, and sometimes insurance companies don't replace it. A lot are starting to replace it, so I give them credit there. But most times to all it should really be replaced. The only time that I feel it shouldn't be replaced, if it's just going to be so burdensome and so cost effective, then you should either double it up with ice and water shields stuck together on the metal prime to each piece to get through the nail holes. But the whole essence of the step flashing is a continual piece of metal, depending where you are with the coat, is going up 5 inches. It's usually 6 to 8 inches depending on your shingle type or cedar shake wide, or 5 inches. And it goes up your wall, it comes back down onto the shingle. And it's designed so that when water blows, every single shingle has one of these going up the wall, and then the stucco or siding goes over. So it's designed to keep the water from infiltrating. When you reuse step flashing, a couple things happen. You have generally 2 nail holes to nail it down flat to the shingles. And when you pull those nails out, like Mike said, you damage it or bend it. The building code specifically says you shall not use damaged flashing, so the manufacturers. But here's the worst thing. Since there's 2 nails, and if the contractor nailed some of those piece step flashing high, there's no way the contractor is going to hit that nail with his pneumatic gun every shingle back hole. So now you got a hole that isn't really sealed. Now, even when the nail's through it, it's not a perfect seal, but it's a pretty good seal because it was driven through under pressure through the metal, and the metal's tight around that nail. So water blows under, it generally goes back over. But now you got 2 holes in the flashing that was designed to stop water from infiltrating and catching the top of the shingle underneath. If that hole's high, you got water going right under your shingles to the wood deck, rotting it out. I see it all the time on step flashing. The other thing is sometimes it's nailed to the wall behind the stucco, and it's really hard to get out. It damages the stucco. But unfortunately, then where that stucco is, at least to the roof line, the standard practice would be to replace that step flashing. You can either cut and patch the stucco. I like to take it right up because I want to put the people back to pre-loss condition. Yeah. Now, let's go further. The manufacturer recommends that you replace those metals. And what is the to quote, I don't have it sitting in front of me, to quote both the building codes, commercial and residential, what does it say? That you shall follow whichever is more restrictive, the local building code or the manufacturer's installation instructions. So an installation recommendation or suggestion, we recommend you replace the flashing, is more restrictive, and you should follow it, and it's better for the consumer. But obviously sometimes when there's hundreds of thousands of claims in a little localized hailstorm, some insurance will try to shut that down. They'll tell you to reuse vents too. Vents have an average of 1, 2, 3, and 2, that's 4, 7, and 3 more, 10 nail holes to hold that vent down. But when you take off that vent, you bend the metal. You have those holes, the contractor doesn't hit it. So now instead of the flashing extending 3 to 6 inches up behind the vent, you can have a nail hole 3 inches, and you got ice and water coming down there, a big rainstorm. Now you got a leak, and it's your rotted deck. It's getting to your insulation. It can cause mold. So there's a really correct way to do things, and the manufacturer lists it in the installation instructions. And a lot of times the insurance company, well, they're not, local code's not enforcing it. Well, really the building official does not have the authority to unrestrict that code. They really need to go with it unless you personally ask for what's called a variance. A variance means it's going to create you some kind of hardship. And so generally they want you to comply with some of the code, but it's your call. You're the owner, so they can lessen it and give you a variance if it's legitimate. And there's certain times where, yes, it could be a nightmare to change that flashing. Then you should ask your contractor, hey, we're not putting those new flashings on. What else can we do? Can you pull the flashing out? Can you wrap ice and water maybe up a few inches up the wall? That's really effective, and run it the whole length. So if water gets through, it carries all the way down to the edge of the roof into the gutter. So there are some times where there is an effective approach. But when the insurance industry says, no, we're just not paying for that, no, that's wrong. And if you decide, like, this is really problematic and could cost me out of pocket $15,000, you're going to want a variance. But you're still going to say, what can I do now to make that proper, so I don't carry the liability and the risk? Because the insurance companies, you got to remember, the premise for insurance is when something gets damaged or as part of something gets damaged, let's put our consumer back to pre-storm condition. And that's what the whole goal, and that's what the insurance company should have an obligation. Adjuster has an ethical obligation to you too.
So that step flashing basically is a water barrier, right? That's what we want. We don't want it to get in that house or into the garage.
Right, it's a water barrier per shingle.
Right.
So there is some tricky ways around it. You can still put the customer back there, but it still costs money. It's when the insurance company just says, we're not paying anything for that. That really frustrates me because they're also now putting me in a liability position, my client in a liability position. And let's remember the public out there. The average roofer only stays in business about 5 years. That's the statistic. It's like 90, depending what study you see, anywhere from 80 to 92% of roofers go to business in 5 years. So if you're getting a warranty, what is your warranty really worth if 9 out of 10 of them are going out of business, or 8.5 of them?
Or if it's not installed correctly. I mean, I was on a roof yesterday where they had a big, huge tile vent, all right, on their air hawk on there, and it was the wrong type, right? I mean, snow could get in there, water can get in there. So, not only do they have to have the right manufacturer and supplies, but they also need to know how to install them correctly.
Right. The purpose of the roof is to shed water. As you put a whole system in, every single system plays a part in sealing the roof, right? Even the temperature, as the sun hits it, there's a sealant that goes on to protect water from getting in. And so that's why we follow, all the specs that we do to make sure that the homeowner is safe and secure.
Stevie, a lot of roofs I go out to, I see where they don't adhere to the manufacturer's specs on, let's say, shingles, right? I mean, you'll see shiners, what we call nails that shouldn't be there, etc. Why do they have those specs?
Well, the specs is the manufacturer, they have spent thousands and thousands of dollars and hours on research and saying, hey, this is a very specific way to use our product so it performs the optimal level. Right, and that code is not just say this is something best we do, but it's been tested all around the country, and so when we say hey, speaking on behalf, saying hey, just the manufacturer specs needs to be followed, and when they don't follow it, there are issues that happen.
So when you say testing, you're talking about engineers who have gone and are subject to wind tests and to water tests and to penetration tests.
Oh, UV testing, things like that too. Because the manufacturer is on the line for putting out a great product, and so they want to stand behind their work as well.
So since we have more hell between Pueblo and Cheyenne, Wyoming, what do they mean when they say you've got a 30 or a 40 or a 50? What's a lifetime for 50? That's confusing.
Right. Most roofers go out there and they sell you a lifetime roof in hopes that you believe that this is the last roof that you're going to put on in your lifetime. It's not, and that we understand this. Most manufacturer warranties fall between anywhere from, depending on the shingle, 25 to 50 years, but it's prorated. Right, you have a proration period.
So it's a gimmick. That's an upselling technique for the manufacturer.
It's a marketing technique. Marketing technique. Primarily, and so it's very nice for the year. But once an educated homeowner, and when a company like us, we're able to explain to them exactly what they're getting, it makes a big difference.
And some of these warranties only cover labor. They don't even cover the shingles, or vice versa.
Yeah, sometimes it depends on what age of the roof is. There's so many things that go behind it.
And they're prorated.
They're prorated. It's like
When you think you're getting a lifetime warranty, you need to go calculate what it's worth 10, 15 years down the road, and you're going to be shocked it ain't worth much.
Right, and most manufacturer warranties are maximum. I think non-prorated periods are up to, some of them are up to 30, but most of them are about 10 years or so.
So when they say
literally 10
lifetime,
years.
they mean 50 years, right, on a shingle?
Well, 50 years, but the 50 years, the proration full coverage is only probably maybe 10 years.
Oh.
And if you go to commercial, some of them are only to 5 years. So, that's the part we do in educating our customers, saying, hey, listen, this is what you're getting and this is what the coverage you need. So
these are important things for the consumer to know, for adjusters too to be aware of. Shingles I do not know a shingle that truly lasts 50 years, right?
And determine that we use a shingle gauge. Maybe you can tell them what a shingle gauge is.
Well, shingle gauge are somewhat effective, but they're not that reliable. It is where you measure with a gauge the thickness of the shingle or older shingles to try to figure out. I'm just laughing at our studio producer. That seems like he's going to fall asleep on us, but or that he had maybe too much fun last night. But what it does, it measures the thickness of the shingles, and you're measuring an old shingle. So what if it got peppered by 3 or 4 small hailstorms and took a lot of the aggregate off? It's not the most accurate. So many times insurance companies, it's a 25-year shingle. I'll be like, no, I know that's a 30-year shingle. I just know by looking at it. It's a dimensional shingle. They don't make them in 25-year. But the gauge is saying it's 25-year thickness. So it's a good mark to use. It's not going to be way off.
yeah, it's not because shingles have the technology's improved. So back in the day, yes, you did have a thicker shingle, and the gauges are they haven't made
organic. They're
exactly
mostly organic.
Yeah. And so now the technology's improved. You can have a thinner shingle, but that performs at a higher level. And so that's why the shingle gauge. You're absolutely right. They don't dictate exactly what's on the roof.
Okay, so we're going to be right back. We're going to be right back. You're listening live to Insurance Claims Radio. I'm your host, Phil Coutu. You can check me out at rooftoproofing.com.
You're listening to Insurance Claim Radio. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration. 303-997-4247. 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftop-restoration.com.
Welcome back to Insurance Claim Radio. Now, here's Phil Coutu and his team.
Hi, you're back live with Insurance Claims Radio. I'm your host to help you navigate insurance claims, particularly hail in Colorado. I'm also a licensed insurance adjuster, a public adjuster, an insurance appraiser. I do work throughout the country. I've got a great panel today. Mike from Pro Roof Solutions. Ed Levy has his own law firm. Ed has like multiple names to the law firm. So Ed,
we're the Atlas Law Firm.
The Atlas Law Firm. Okay.
Primarily litigation.
Yeah, primary litigation. Ed specializes in insurance litigation, and we got Stevie Solomon, ex shingle rep, on board today. And we left off talking about the thickness of shingles and prorating shingles, and we're talking about step flashing and how important it is to make sure your insurance company is paying you for like, kind, and quality, the same kind of product you had that when it was new before the hailstorm, if you got a replacement cost policy, versus what they want to put on after if they want you to reuse items. We're not too keen on reusing items. Sometimes for custom exhaust vents that you can reuse the flashing, I recommend then that you take 2 pieces of ice and water shield, clean the metal up, prime it, put it together so you cover over the old nail holes. You're really creating a new flashing under the shingle that will last, because ice and water shield you really shouldn't have exposed to the sun more than about half a year to a year depending on the brand. So there's different techniques, but the insurance company should be paying your contractors to do that. And let's also talk about
so what happens when they don't make that shingle anymore, or they don't make that product anymore? What do we do?
Well, some policies still have clauses in them where they owe you to put you back to the same condition. But a lot of insurance companies, let's face it, insurance industry, the way human nature works, we're not adding in, most companies aren't adding in more coverage. Coverage over time is being eroded as insurance companies are smart and they're limiting their liability. You can't blame them. So it's very important to look at your policy. But a lot of them have discontinued clauses now saying that if you have 8 or 10 shingles get damaged on a roof and they don't make the shingles anymore, you're SOL. It's they just owe you for those shingles. Before they'd have to put on a brand new roof because they're no longer made. But a lot of times there is no true matching law in Colorado. I mean, there's a great matching law in Montana. States and legislatures come up with different things and different precedents are set.
If you had a T-lock as an example, right, they can just replace the T-lock and it doesn't even have to be the right color. They could have a yellow T-lock with a green T-lock and it's okay in the Colorado, right? They don't have to match colors.
Right. Well, there is a process called indemnification, guys. So these get into tricky areas of the law, and I'm going to let the attorney jump in, but as an insurance professional adjuster, if you had a roof and it was patched with different color shingles, and a hailstorm comes or a windstorm comes and damages some of those shingles, to put the customer back to pre-loss condition, the roof was already mismatched. So the insurance company kind of has that right. I know a lot of roofers don't want to hear that, but that's the way the policy is written. But if you have a nice roof, all one color, and those shingles are no longer available, and there's nothing close, and you're standing on the ground, and there's a great argument, legal argument to be made that how did you indemnify the insured if you're putting them back to like kind of quality? Now, policies, the coverages are changing, the definitions are changing, so it's really a little bit more complex than that, but the essence of insurance is to make somebody whole. So if there's a diminution of value, there's an issue. Diminution of value is like I can't put them back to pre-loss condition and they go to sell their house and there's going to be a loss of value here. So it gets into the area of legalities, and Ed's probably a great guy to jump in on that. And it can go either way in some cases.
It can, and there's a lot of room for negotiation. And even as Mike was saying, when he's on a roof talking to an adjuster, a lot of these things can be kind of resolved informally, and the insurance company adjuster says, yeah, I'll buy that roof, we're good to go. But if you're talking about diminution of value, it again comes back to what's that insurance policy say. If you read through the 300 pages or 200 pages and you're looking at each term and each term of art and each defined term, where you really do need a lawyer to review this for you. And I always recommend that people review major contracts with their attorney before they sign them, even if their insurance agent is saying it's fine. Because we've seen denial letters go to the insurance agent or the insurance broker. Oh, sorry, the insurance company's not going to pay it. And what do? Did the insurance broker provide legal advice or not? So I always recommend that people.
Do you recommend that the customer would come to you and look at the policy of insurance?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a loss, there's no problem whatsoever. There's no reason not to sit down with an attorney and say, hey, what am I covered for here? What can I expect in terms of the insurance company? And, well, insurance company ABC, they're really good. They generally pay a fair claim. You should consider your options here. Here's how I see things happening. Oh, you've got that insurance company? They fight everything tooth and nail. You need to go meet with Mr. Coutu and Rooftop and see what's going to happen here and what your options are and what he really thinks the damages are, or somebody else of that nature, because you're in for a battle. But as always, we need to assess the situation. We need to look at what rights the individual or the company or homeowner association has under the policy, and then what is a reasonable expectation of the insurance company how to take care of that.
That's the important part is what the language says in the policy. If it's ambiguous, then it can be construed in favor of the policyholder, which is you, the consumer. But sometimes it's written really well. So there's all kinds of language coming out right now on cosmetic damages in the definition, and it's going to go both ways, back and forth in the courts. We're actually trying one ourselves, me and Mike are right now, and it's complex, and it's an exterior damage exclusion, but it contradicts part of the early part of the policy. So it's a little bit messy, and sometimes people have to realize it's not always perfectly black or white. You can get to the courts. One court can rule one way, and there's another attorney involved, or it's explained different, or it's maybe a higher up court, and they rule back the other way. That's why there's appeals, right?
And that's why we have a lot of law cases. One is let's resolve the underlying dispute. Let's take care of the policyholder. The other part is, look, the insurance company is saying this legal theory. They're advancing this. We need to challenge appraisals. We need to fight this. We need to fight bias. We need to argue that we don't need to pay for the step flashing. And new law is made through the court process. So whoever loses in state court or in federal court can then ask an appellate court to say, well, okay, the law said this, or this judge ruled this way based on these reasons, and most judges rule for a reason or a set of reasons, and we think that's wrong for the following public policy reasons, for the following legal reasons, and for the following, if you look at other states, this is how they treat this. And then the appellate court makes that decision, and we have new law that everybody can now say, in this situation, insurance company, you might as well just know you're going to pay for step flashing.
Well, we get in chimneys, right, where water's getting in and we have mold and mildew, or we might get in situations where the company says, well, it's wear and tear. You might want to touch base on that real quick, Phil.
Well, wear and tear is an exclusion in the policy, which means, and it's this, I agree with the insurance company, you don't owe for a new roof because of wear and tear. Because my roof is 18 years old and looks like crap. The insurance company is not a maintenance policy. So I strongly am in line on this one with the insurance company. What I'm not in line with the insurance industry is how they're always trying to use it as an exclusion in coverage when a hailstorm or a windstorm or a hurricane hits. Well, there was wear and tear is excluded. True. But are we making a claim under wear and tear? No, we're making a claim because the hail hit it. And you gave us a replacement cost policy, which the next show I think we'll talk about replacement cost versus actual cash value. So sometimes these exclusions are using unfairly. And I had a huge claim I just settled on a church, excuse me, where they used the cosmetic exclusion. They paid the church $0. I ended up settling the claim north of $1.5 million about 2 months ago. Because they were applying the cosmetic exclusion incorrectly. There was structural damage to the components of the roofing, and there was damage that wasn't even on the roof, $200,000 damage on the ground to AC units and fences.
So let me understand, Phil. You had a client customer who had a loss on their roof, hail
Correct.
Damage, and the insurance company said, we're not going to pay you anything because this is cosmetic, it's excluded from the policy, you don't get a dime.
Okay, right, and let's go over this question with our next show. I'm just getting this producer in the studio saying that it's time to wrap it up. You're live with Insurance Claims Roofing. I'm your host, Phil Coutu, and we'll be back to discuss that claim that went from $0 to $1.5 million in the next show.
Thank you for listening to Insurance Claim Radio. For more information on how to maximize your hail damage insurance claim or to contact Phil and his team, call 303-997-4247. And be sure to tune in next week for more Insurance Claim Radio.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with $0 out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration, 303-997-4247, 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftоprestoration.com.